Good morning and welcome to part 2 of my Bedini wheel. Uh, so I ordered all of the electronics yesterday. Here's a tip for you. I found copper wire really cheap compared to everywhere else I saw it at a place called Remington Industries. I got 160 foot of, I think it's 23 gauge. I'll correct that later if I'm wrong. And like 160 feet of, I think it's 26 gauge and 23 gauge. Anyway, like 160 feet of the one, 180 feet of the other, for a total of like $15 with free shipping. So that's awesome. I mean, I saw rolls of this stuff on Amazon for like $100. So anyway, a lot of the diodes came from Amazon, and that one resistor came from, I don't know, another company. I'll try to put links in the description. But anyway, electronics are all coming. Some of it's going to be here tomorrow, but not enough of it to do me any good. Some of it's like 10 days to 2 weeks out, so it'll be a little while till I can do a video on the whole electronic thing. But while I'm killing time waiting on parts to get here, I rounded up some of the pieces parts I had of wire, and I think I have plenty of that. And today I'm going to make a crank assembly or jig, whatever you want to call it, that will help in winding the coil. So stay with me. I'm going to make that little gizmo, and if you make that, it's going to save you a lot of time and make it a lot easier to build the coil. So let's have at it. Alright, so here's a little crank assembly I came up with. I measured and marked a nut on the end, and then the thickness of the part of the box, and then a nut, and then this will be the spool the wires on, and then another nut, and then the thickness of the box. So I'm going to weld this. If you don't have a welder, you could use a piece of rebar or something that's longer. I'm just using stuff I had laying around. I happen to have this little piece of bar. I've been into a 90 for the crank, and I'm going to weld that right there, and that'll work. You'd need, let's see, this is an 8-inch bolt, and that's probably 4.5, 5 inches, and 3 there, so probably 16, 17 inches of rebar would make that whole, all threads, what I meant to say. So probably about 17, 18 inches of all thread, and you could just bend a Z like that and have the threads for your nuts, and this would be threaded, it wouldn't matter. So anyway, or if you happen to have an 18-inch bolt laying around, you're all set. So anyway, I'll show you this here in a few minutes. Alright, so there we have it. It took longer to get the welder out and rig everything up than it did to weld it. So, we're good there, and I'll build a box now. Alright guys, that's it. Pretty simple to make. You need 3 inches between here for the width of the spool, with a little bit of room for adjustment, and then these nuts will tighten in and squeeze against the spool so the spool turns with the crank. Just pretty simple little crank deal. So that's what I came up with. You might want to make one for yourself, because it's going to make winding that coil 100 times easier. a little unexpected twist. I was going to use one of the spools that my copper wire is coming on to make the coil. But that means I'd have to unroll the whole roll of wire and, stretch it out outside or something. And the weather's been crappy. It's been in the low 30s and snowing on and off. And so I did see a video where you need 150 feet, and it should be right around between 450 and 500 turns of the crank when you wrap it on. And I can do that indoors if I have another spool. So I also saw in a video how to just make a spool. So I decided that's what I'll do. That way I'll have a spool that I can make the coil on and just unroll the copper wire off its spool as I wind the new coil. Anyway, so what I did, I cut a piece of 3/4 inch PVC, and I cut a piece of 1.25 inch PVC and laid the 1.25 inch in the oven. Got it good and hot at about 300 degrees or 250, I think I had that. And then set it between two cast iron skillets to make it flat till it cooled out. And it's not exactly flat, but it's close enough. So I'm going to cut 2 circles for the ends out of that, and then either hot glue or PVC glue. I think I got some PVC cement here somewhere, and glue the ends on the pipe. So I'll be back here in a minute and show you how it goes. Okay, so I went ahead and drilled the holes while it was still easier to hold on to those, to the PVC. I got a little off center on that one, but it's close enough, it'll work. And it's a 7/8 hole. It's a 3/4 inch pipe, but that 3/4 is interior. And I measured it, and the 7/8 will just sit like that nice and get glued on there. So that's why I did that. Now I'm gonna use a saber saw, a little jigsaw, and cut out the circles, and I'll be back and show you. Alright, there you go. Not perfect, but good enough. So I drew around a canning jar lid to get my circle. And so I'll glue them on. We'll see how it does. Alright, so we go to plan B. I had PVC cement. It's only 6 months old, maybe a year. But there wasn't a lot left in the bottom, and it kind of gelled. And I put it on there like jelly, thinking that'd still work. Nope. So I cleaned it all off, and we're going to hot glue. I'll be back. So I stuck a 3/4 inch dowel in there to keep that hole all lined up while I glue it from the inside. I'll be back. Alright, there it is. It's not perfect, but it'll do the job and it'll work. I think Miss Kitty's cat hair is on there. But anyway, maybe I'll paint it. It'll just look a little nicer. I'll show you. Alright, so there's my coil spool ready to wind. Oh, I put a couple holes in there, one on each side for to bring the coil wires out through. So anyway, now we wait on copper wire. So that's it. Waiting on electronic parts. It'll be here in a blink of an eye for you, because it'll be the next video. And we'll start following the schematics and putting this thing together, I hope. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching the videos. I hope you enjoy it, and learn by my mistakes. See you next video.